Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Hi, hello-y, my name is Loey, and I finally watched the Dear David movie. People have been asking me if I was gonna make this video. I feel like literally since the Dear David trailer dropped a couple of months ago. If you've been watching me on the internet for a while, I feel like you've probably seen at least two things, both of which coincidentally link back to BuzzFeed, who's going to be a major topic of discussion in today's video. The first is my episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved with Shane and Ryan, where they came to my haunted apartment and we did a little ghost hunt, or number two is my series of videos on Dear David, which was a Twitter thread story that went super viral back in 2017. And before I say anything else, I want to say that I absolutely adore the original creator of the Dear David story, the person who wrote all of those tweets, Adam Ellis. We've always been really friendly with each other online. I think he's an incredible artist and I really, really like his work. And I think that the fact that BuzzFeed's name is plastered all over this story that Adam Ellis wrote completely free of that company, and his name is nowhere in the credits whatsoever outside of a special thanks, really tells you all you need to know about this movie. But I watched it anyway. If you want to keep up with real life Adam Ellis, I'll have all of his social media linked down below, including his Patreon where you can support him. The movie opens with a statement. In 2017, Adam Ellis began documenting a series of strange experiences that were happening in his apartment. He posted them on Twitter, and these Dear David posts became a viral sensation. Then they give that the following is based on true events disclaimer, and I feel like by the end of this film, that statement in the intro should be like punishable by law. Now, Dear David is scary, but you know what's scarier? Getting spam and scam calls from unknown numbers. And thanks to today's video sponsor, Aura, those spam calls are finally a thing of the past. Listen, data brokers are making a fortune off of selling your information to robocallers, spammers, and people who just generally want to know more information about you. Aura can identify the data brokers exposing your information online and submit takedown requests on your behalf. The brokers do legally have to take down your info if you tell them to, but they make it really hard on purpose. So let Aura do the hard work for you while keeping your information safe from prying eyes. Aura is really easy to set up, and it's so many different tools all in one. They tell you if your information has been involved in any kind of data breach, which is really, really helpful. They also submit those data broker takedowns, but it's also an antivirus, parental controls tool, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and so much more, all rolled into one website. If you want to protect your information online and stop data brokers from exposing your information, you can head on over to aura.com/LoeyLane to get a 14-day free trial and see if your data has been compromised anywhere on the internet. Once again, that's aura.com/LoeyLane for your 2-week free trial to Aura. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring today's video and for keeping my identity safe. And now let's get back to Dear David. The movie starts off in New York City in 1996, where a couple are closing down their grocery store for the night while the husband talks about how big he feels like the internet is going to be. And his wife is like ignoring him until she asks him, "Where's David?" Her husband says, "Where do you think?" And we get a shot of a little kid in front of a computer in an otherwise dark room. And this is our first introduction to David, like Dear David. And we know it's him because he's on some early internet chat websites and his username is Dear David, in case it wasn't obvious enough. David posts this creepy drawing that he made in the chat room in like MS Paint or something, and is immediately just roasted. Like everyone in the chat room is like, "This sucks. Why did you post this?" And it's just clearly a drawing by like a 7-year-old boy. David's mom comes into the basement and tells him it's time to go to bed, and he says, okay, but decides he's gonna finish reading his hate mail first. And he responds to the bullies in this chat room and says, "Why are you so mean?" And then, like internet verbiage as old as time, this person responds with, "Why don't you?" Something I can't say because of YouTube guidelines, to this little kid. And that's how this movie starts. with a child sending his Microsoft Paint drawing to a chat room and being told to unalive. Then suddenly we're in 2017 and Adam Ellis is walking down the streets of New York while the opening credits play. Adam works as a writer and an artist for BuzzFeed. It was really interesting to me to see how BuzzFeed handled BuzzFeed in this film, because BuzzFeed Studios made the movie. I mean, it's also Lionsgate, but like, it's BuzzFeed. And in this first scene in the BuzzFeed offices, which really do look like the BuzzFeed offices, at least from what I've seen before, Adam is sitting on his computer and reading hate comments that he's gotten on his latest comic that he posted to Twitter. His coworkers are like, hey man, you need to stop reading that stuff. You need to stop responding to it. You need to just ignore it. And as Adam is at work being counseled by his coworkers not to respond to hate comments, ooh, interesting parallels to the beginning, a guy in slightly more formal attire than everybody else in the office walks out and says, hey, BuzzFeeders. He takes a moment to let the whole office know that he just read an incredible article about a man who woke up from a coma after 21 years. And as everyone in the office is like, oh my God, that's amazing. What an incredible story. He's like, yeah, but I read it on Vice. So all of you need to start working harder. Then the boss man singles out Adam Ellis and says, hey, listen, your content is relatable AF, but your performance is lacking and you need to get your numbers up. To which one of Adam's coworkers literally leans over, puts her arm on his shoulder, and says he told that to the girl he fired last week. I was interested to see how BuzzFeed would represent themselves in this film. I guess I wasn't expecting them to be so honest about how terrible they are. But after this, Adam tries to post more comics. He tries to get more content out there. We also meet his boyfriend, Kyle, and are introduced to their relationship. And it seems like things are a little imbalanced there. Kyle drops like the I love you at one point, and Adam literally just kind of nods and walks away. We're like 10 minutes into this movie, by the way, and suddenly we cut away to these two kids on a computer talking on like a Facebook type of app and trolling people through messages. They're saying all this crazy stuff and trying to get blocked by people, then high-fiving after they do it. It feels like such a goofy representation of like an internet troll, you know what I mean? Just these two kids in a room together high-fiving after they get blocked by somebody. But anyway, they're looking for people to troll on whatever this app is, and they find someone named Dear David. And there are these rules for this chat room with David specifically that say no bullying, no bad language, and ask only 2 questions, but never 3. The kids ask, Dear David, why are you such a loser? To which David replies, I think you'd both like me if you gave me a chance. One of the kids is like, well, how did he know there were 2 of us here? And the other one's like, it's fine, he's just trolling too. And in an eerily similar fashion to the beginning of this movie, when somebody said, why don't you? These children say, tell me why a loser like you shouldn't. Like, Jesus Christ, this film ends up saying that a lot. But then David replies with, so I can live to see you die. And then these kids ask a 3rd question. They're like, well, then tell me, how am I gonna die? And David says, alone, afraid, and wetting your bed. Then we cut away again and we're back with Adam and his friends, and they're now at a bar. He's with his BuzzFeed friends and his boyfriend Kyle, and they're all having a drink. And it's like, I would have liked the setup of his life without this random interjection of these 2 kids falling down like a creepypasta in real life. I guess the only reason for it is that they wanted to establish that like you can only ask 2 questions with David, and on the 3rd something bad will happen. But I don't know, their portrayal of an internet troll was so over the top, it just felt like an unnecessary scene, or like it could have been done in a different way. Either way, we're at the bar now and we're meeting back in with Adam and getting to know him more. And we find out that his boyfriend Kyle is going out of town for a while, so Adam's gonna have his apartment all to himself. We cut back again to the teenage boy who had trolled David earlier in the night, and he is in sleep paralysis, completely terrified by something that we as the audience can't see, before a hand crawls up his chest and the screen cuts out. Then we cut away again and we're back with Adam, this time in his apartment, and he is posting and drawing comics while enjoying himself an adult beverage. He gets a hate comment, and instead of ignoring it like his coworkers told him earlier, he responds to the hate comments and ends up telling someone to unalive. Why is that the theme of this film? So I guess this is how David is invited in, how you get haunted by him is by being an ass on the internet. And right as rain, he shows up in the comments of this Twitter thread asking Adam, why are you so mean? Of course, Adam doesn't even know who Dear David is at this point, but the damage has already been done. And from this point following in the film, he is being haunted by the spirit of Dear David. I can't believe my boy David got the Jeff the Killer creepypasta treatment, but I guess that's where we're at. The next morning, as Adam is scrolling through Twitter and looking at all the new followers and engagement he got online because he had roasted this Twitter troll, he hears something in the corner of his room and looks up to see that his rocking chair is rocking back and forth by itself. This was the first nod to the actual Dear David story that I had seen. I remembered the rocking chair from Adam's tweets, like the actual ones. So that was kind of cool, but of course Adam just brushes this off and goes in for another day at work. He's posting more comics, definitely trying to get better engagement on these platforms, and when he's going home at night, he notices like lights overhead flickering as he walks by that really seem to freak him out. He ends up running all the way home, and once he's inside, I guess you can consider this like the Dear David night one. Like if we have a 5 nights at Dear David's, this is night 1. When Adam goes to sleep that night, he's woken up in the middle of the night during an episode of sleep paralysis, once again, by that chair rocking back and forth in the corner of his room. When he wakes up in the morning, he tweets, "I saw a child sitting in the green rocking chair at the foot of my bed." And I was kind of confused here because I was like, I thought the rocking chair was just moving back and forth. You can't really see anything. And it's because this movie is so dark, not dark in subject matter, but just like it's really dark. Like I couldn't make out anything. And I think it's dark on purpose to like up the scares and make it as creepy as possible, but I can't see anything. Adam tells his coworker bestie Evelyn about this experience the next day, and she's basically like, you just had sleep paralysis, it's not that big of a deal, and brushes it off, tells him everything's fine, and he's just wigged out because his boyfriend isn't in town staying with him in the apartment. He's in the BuzzFeed offices at his desk when suddenly Adam notices a woman walking through the office that he's never seen before. So he starts to head after her. Like she just doesn't look like she belongs there. She's holding her head down. She's in a big white jacket and nobody else really notices her either. So he's following her, and when he follows her into the room she's walked into, suddenly he's inside of a grocery store with lights flickering overhead, the same grocery store we saw in the beginning of the movie. And the woman he saw is now sitting on the floor surrounded by a bunch of these creepy drawings. And she asks him, "You've seen my son, Dear David, haven't you?" Adam asks her, what does he want? And she replies, 2 questions, never 3. Once again, we're really establishing here, Dear David is like a creepypasta entity who can only be asked 2 questions. And if you ask him the 3rd, he'll spook you to death in your sleep. Adam asks her, why? And she says, ask him yourself, and turns around and her face is all creepy and it's a jump scare. But it's like, if he only gets 2 questions, why is he gonna waste half of them asking, why can I only ask 2 questions? Suddenly the room goes black and we see David again sitting in front of the computer. Adam approaches him and this like creepy monster appears out of the dark and grabs his face, except he's back in his desk and there's no creepy thing behind him and everything is fine, except his coworkers are now looking at him like he's nuts. Adam's coworker and friend Evelyn is like, hey, listen, if you need someone to come over, I'll come keep you company. So he takes her up on it. She comes over, they play some Scrabble and hang out, but literally one creepy thing happens and this girl is out the door. Adam's Polaroid camera randomly like fell on the floor, and I thought that was a cool nod back to the original Dear David tweets too, since those Polaroid pictures came up a bit in that story. So Evelyn leaves and Adam is once again alone in the apartment, where he starts Googling Dear David. He's trying to find something about this ghost, but nothing is really coming up. So he goes to bed, and now we're upon Dear David night 2. Once again, Adam wakes up with sleep paralysis and sees David sitting in the rocking chair of his bedroom. This time it's much easier to spot David, and it looks like a real person sitting there in the chair. And so Adam manages to ask through this sleep paralysis, "Who are you?" To which David replies, "Just a follower." And Adam wakes up. Now he goes to the living room once he's kind of like regained himself, and he sees that next to the game of Scrabble that he and Evelyn were playing the night before, he sees someone has left the message in Scrabble pieces, "Ask 3, unalive," in the same way that he told someone to in his tweet. Like, it just keeps coming back. Adam notices his upstairs neighbors are moving out and takes the opportunity to ask if they've ever had anything weird happen to them, to which they say they never have. And he decides the best way to evade his apartment ghost is by switching units. So he moves out of his current apartment and into the one upstairs. But our boy David pulls up nonetheless. It's Dear David night 3 now. Adam is in his new apartment drawing comics when he notices his cats seem really bothered by something at the door. So he walks over, and that's when he notices a black shadow pass underneath the door frame. He freaks out and looks through the peephole, but of course nothing is there. And he's trying to gather himself up, like, okay, I need to look outside, I need to look outside. When Adam opens up the door, nothing is there. So he decides to go get his Polaroid camera and take a photo of the empty door frame. Again, I liked this because I think that the Polaroid that they used in his hand in this scene really is a Polaroid from the original Twitter thread. So that was kind of cool. But then he notices something in the darkness looking back at him, and he slams the door shut, runs under his covers, and starts aggressively typing on his phone to draft his first Dear David tweet. I'm not making this up. Like, he does try to call his boyfriend first, but as soon as his boyfriend doesn't answer, he just starts tweeting. And he writes out the infamous line, "So my apartment is currently being haunted by the ghost of a dead child. Thread." The next day when Adam goes into work, he learns that he has become an overnight viral sensation, and the entire BuzzFeed office is talking about his tweets. Adam tries to tell them, like, hey, no, this is really happening to me. And his boss is like, yeah, sure, it's really happening, and it's gonna make us a lot of money. It doesn't end up feeling like this big moment where it's like, oh, Adam's gone viral, this story's really taking off. Instead, it feels like his employer, this massive company in BuzzFeed, came to him because they saw some tweets he made and said, how's this gonna make us money, baby? Which I'm sure is exactly how the conversation went. But like, damn, BuzzFeed doesn't even try to make themselves look good in this movie. It's crazy. We're on to Dear David night 4, and this time he appears in the flesh. There's literally a scene where this smoke seeps under Adam's apartment door and like hovers over his sleeping body. And as he's literally choking on this smoke, Adam once again sees the rocking chair in the corner of his room rocking back and forth. He asks, "What do you want?" And David answers, "That's 2." Like, that's 2 questions. Like, doesn't answer his question, just says, "That's 2." And suddenly he appears out of absolutely nowhere, holding Adam's typewriter in his hands, which he uses to bash Adam over the head with. And then he wakes up. Adam wakes up with a bloody nose and just starts researching more about ghosts. Like, how did I let this haunting in? What could this haunting be? Like, it really seems like he's trying to get to the bottom of it. As he's researching, Adam hears all of these creepy sounds in his apartment, like the floor creaking and all this noise. So he starts to investigate, and he sees somebody in his home. But it's just his boyfriend Kyle, who has come home early to come and check on him. Kyle has been out of town with his family, but came back because Adam hasn't been answering any of his text messages. And also, Kyle found him on Grindr. To which Adam is like, well, no, you haven't been texting me. I haven't been getting any of your texts, and I'm not on Grindr. Here, I'll show you. He pulls out his phone and he swears he has the Grindr app deleted, but it's downloaded on his phone. He opens it up to be like, well, I don't have a profile on there. But he does have a profile, an active profile in which he's messaging other guys. Kyle, who thinks he's being cheated on, is like, okay, well, I can't do this. Like, I need space from you right now until you sort yourself out. Because Adam is just sitting there like, I didn't do this. This wasn't me. I didn't make this account. And just generally sounds like he's losing his mind. And for what it's worth, I'm completely team Kyle. Adam had a grinder, hadn't been answering his text messages, and also had fully switched apartments, had like moved since the last time he talked to his boyfriend. I think that there was some pretty strong reasoning there. Adam's really distraught by this. He goes home that night and tweets more about the Dear David story, and it seems like the next day he goes to the bar that we've seen him at with his friends before, only to overhear Evelyn and all of his other friends talking about how weird he's been lately, how no one cares about ghosts, and he just hasn't been around for anything. So he walks back out of the bar. And at this point, the haunting takes a turn from like physical haunting to electronic. Like, it's clear David has been messing with Adam's phone and stuff. He's not getting Kyle's messages. He has a Grindr profile he knows nothing about. Now his webcam is turning on by its own. He's getting these mysterious unknown calls. But my God, is he gaining followers from his Dear David story. So he's continuing to post it. Okay, I had to take a break from this video for a few days. I was just becoming so all consumed by this film, and I washed this shirt, literally did my makeup the same way, was like, I'm going to be so slick with this, no one will even notice. And then right before I started recording, I broke my lamp, like it like shattered on the floor. And now I'm so conscious of the fact that things may not look the same. Anyways, I'm here to soldier through the rest of this story. So yeah, Dear David is like part ghost, part computer virus, and is generally just being a nuisance. And now we're on to like Dear David night 72. Just kidding, I think we're at like night 5 now. Adam has this like dream slash vision of David on the computer in the basement again, but this time his dad like unplugs the computer and yells at him and is like, I told you to go to bed, like stop looking at creepy stuff on the internet, because David is just like on chat rooms he shouldn't be, seeing material he shouldn't have been seeing. I don't know how to say it any way other than that. If you were around in the early days of the internet and you just remember those shock sites and shock videos and photos and stuff that went around, it was like stuff like that, I think. Anyway, David, who I must remind you is a 7-year-old boy, in response to his father telling him like, stop looking at creepy stuff on the internet and go to bed, kills his father. David chokes his father. Just cold-blooded murder. His mother's response to this is to run to the basement and hit David over the head with the computer monitor, which I guess is why he's an internet ghost, because like he went crazy or something possessed him because he was looking at all this creepy stuff on the internet, and then he unalives his dad, and then his mom slams the computer on his head. That's also why his head is dented whenever we see him. So Adam wakes up from this dream vision whatever, and he is literally hanging out of his New York City apartment window, and it is pouring rain outside. David is maybe the most powerful, like craziest ghost I've ever seen in my life, because why can he go from creating a Grindr profile to troll Adam and get his boyfriend to dump him, to literally having Adam seconds away from plummeting to his demise? Like, why is David so powerful? It's gotta be all that Twitter clout that he's getting, I guess. The next day at the BuzzFeed office, Big Boss Man, who I haven't said until this point, is played by Justin Long. I kind of can't believe the actors they got to be in this film, because every single actor is actually really good and has like quite a portfolio of really good work they've done. Anyway, Big Boss Man, Justin Long's character, I don't remember his name, is asking Adam like, hey, so how exactly is the Twitter thread gonna wrap up? And also, are you good? Because at this point, Adam is like acting weird. He looks disheveled. He doesn't look like he's been sleeping. So it's obvious something is going on. Clearly, everyone around him doesn't believe this is real, thinks it's like a publicity stunt or a story. So Adam tells his boss, like, I don't know how it's gonna end. And his boss offers to help him workshop it. And there's this really like meta moment, I guess, where the boss says, we could take this multimedia, which is weird because we're watching the Dear David movie and it's so bad and it deserved so much better. On his Twitter, somebody responds to Adam's tweets about Dear David and says, pics or it didn't happen. So he has the bright idea to go and get one of those like Bluetooth security cameras so he can always watch the inside of his house. He also reaches out to his ex, Kyle, who Evelyn says, I guess, can like track people down, something about how he had worked on some exposés in the past. So Adam goes to Kyle and is like, can you help me find out who's behind the Dear David Twitter account? And Kyle reluctantly agrees to this. A medium also comes by Adam's apartment and tells him specifically that she senses negativity in the rocking chair, go figure, and also at his computer. And it's kind of like she's working out that there's all this negativity around the computer because that's where Adam was being like a really negative person on the internet, and that's what drew David in. But like Adam doesn't really seem to understand this, but the medium tells him that he needs to figure out who exactly David is and what he wants. Except at this point, Adam has asked David both of the questions he's allowed to ask, and his answer to both of them was deeply unhelpful in learning any kind of lore about Dear David. All he knows is that David probably wants to kill him. Like, that is all he has learned so far. And the medium says, and I quote here, spirits don't always appear as they actually are. They're gonna show you what they want you to see, and they're gonna tell you what they want you to hear. And the truth is often far more complicated. So she's suggesting that maybe David's just goofing around a little bit, and Adam hasn't even seen the extent of his power, which is maybe the most terrifying thing anybody has said so far in this film. But that night, Adam is online researching more reasons why he might be haunted when we see a piece of paper slip under his door. He goes and investigates, and of course, nobody is there. The note isn't from Dear David. Actually, it's from, funny enough, a plus-size internet sleuth who investigates ghosts on the internet and tells Adam about a character by the name of Loopy Linda. I really want to say that they offered to send me an advanced copy of this film, and I was gonna get halfway through the movie and hear Loopy Linda? Oh man. But anyway, he learns from the plus-size internet sleuth who investigates ghosts on the internet that Loopy Linda is actually the name that has been given to a woman named Linda Johnson, who was a mother and wife who apparently just snapped one day and unalived her husband and her son. Loopy Linda is infamous because there's videos on the deep web of her, videos on the deep web of her like recorded therapy sessions, and she's literally in a straitjacket in like a padded room drawing, like I don't even know how she was drawing them because she was in a straitjacket, but she's surrounded by all of these creepy drawings of David, and the doctor is telling her that she is delusional and needs to accept reality and that she killed her husband and put her son in a coma. She tells this doctor that she fought the devil and that David wasn't her son and she was not the one who killed her husband. And it all has this like green deep web filter on it. Like it looks like a Life of Luxury video. Oh Oh my god, this movie is such a treat. Anyway, through watching these deep web videos, Adam realizes that like the vision he had about David and his family was real. However, now Adam knows that David Johnson isn't dead, he's in a coma, a 21-year coma that he just woke up from. Ooh, remember the beginning when the Justin Long character walked in and said, "Hey, BuzzFeeders, I read a great article on Vice. You should all work harder." It was foreshadowing. Can you believe? Anyway, it was David, and he has just woken up from this 21-year coma. At this point, the film takes like a really sharp detour from the original tweets. Until now, most of the tweets that pop up on the screen are like the same, if not just really similar to the tweets that were actually made during the 2017 Dear David saga. But now we have tweets from Adam, like just a black and white photo of Loopy Linda in her padded cell. Like, should I be embarrassed? Like, were they making fun of me? Adam tweets like a black and white photo of Loopy Linda and says in the tweet, "She killed him." Like, anyone on Twitter is supposed to know what that means. He said it was her. She killed her son. Adam goes to the hospital where David has woken up from the coma and is still in care, only to find out that he not only can't get any of David's medical records released to him or any information about David released to him, David has also passed away as of a few days ago. And this really put things into perspective for me because David had always been this little boy ghost. He's been a little boy ghost this entire film. He was a little boy ghost in like the Dear David tweets. But then you realize he was in a coma for 21 years. He was like a fully grown adult man who just passed away and is now haunting Adam as like a little boy. But anyway, David's gone, and Adam somehow tracks down his doctor, like David's doctor, like weirdly finds his full like legal name and address online. This film gets a little wacky towards the end. Buckle up, actually. We haven't seen anything yet. So Adam tracks down the doctor and goes, I guess, to like his house or apartment. I don't really know what the building is, I guess, because Adam just walks right into it. Like there's like stained glass windows. I don't know if that was supposed to mean it was a church. Anyway, Adam walks right into this building and starts calling out for this doctor. His name is Dr. Landers, and Adam is literally just walking around this place yelling, "Dr. Landers, Dr. Landers," and nobody is answering because if they're there, they think someone is broken in, probably. But he doesn't get a response. He's walking all around this area and he finds a bunch of papers and photos and stuff of David sitting on a table. He's shuffling through it. He's like, "What is this?" And then he hears a sound coming from up the stairs. He walks up them only to find Dr. Landers dead. So even the doctor is unsafe. I don't really know what the doctor did. I don't know if he was being really mean online in his spare time or something. Because I really thought that the reason David would haunt you or kill you is if you were like a bully on the internet, but it seems like he also had it out for a doctor that took care of him in a 21-year coma for some reason. Anyways, Adam runs out of this building. He calls the police, he reports a dead body, and we literally, that's it for the doctor. We don't hear anything else about that again. Adam, after this deeply traumatic incident, immediately just starts tweeting again and says, "I'm losing my mind." He ends up trying to stay awake that night. He like makes a bunch of coffee and he's sitting on the couch watching TV, and he says something like, "Let's dance" to David, who I guess he just assumes is in the room with him. He does his best to stay awake but ends up falling asleep and wakes up to the sight of David on the screen. Now, as you might be able to tell, I've been very careful about the verbiage that I've used around some of the really randomly quite dark themes in this film. And I don't really know how to talk about this part of the movie without just, I guess, giving a heads up that this could be upsetting for some people to hear. I'm not gonna get graphic, but I just wanna warn you because it caught me so off guard. Adam wakes up and David is on the TV screen and he has a knife in his hand. and he's in sleep paralysis, and David is like controlling his movements, and Adam tries to get his like Alexa type device, I think they called it Aurora or something in the film. He tries to get that to call Evelyn, and it doesn't understand him, so he says, call Kyle. Adam suddenly wakes up on the couch and it's light outside, and the entire previous scene was all a dream. But Kyle's voicemail is playing from Adam's phone, I guess like indicating that he did call Kyle, and he also has like bruises and stuff on his arm. The next day at BuzzFeed, Evelyn tells a very disheveled Adam that she wants nothing to do with him after the DMs he sent her the night before. Adam looks to find he had said all sorts of really mean stuff to Evelyn, telling her that she could never be him, and I guess like accusing her of clout chasing for some reason, working at BuzzFeed. Apparently he also sent some really screwed up like voice messages to Kyle as well. Honestly, that knowledge makes David so much scarier, because like the messages and even the Grindr profile are one thing, but if David can create an AI model of Adam's voice and send his now ex-boyfriend really nasty messages, like he's kind of terrifying. Speaking of Kyle, he gives Adam a call while he's at work and says that he looked into the Dear David Twitter account, but it doesn't exist. Like the handle doesn't belong to anyone. The account doesn't exist. And Adam literally has it pulled up on his computer. He says, I'm looking at this account right now. To which Kyle responds, I think it's time you let this go. Not concerned about Adam, number one at this point. Not like, wow, that's really weird. Like maybe it's a glitch in the system, maybe it's a bot. Like no rational like explanation for this, just literally it's time to let this go. Some other really dark stuff happens that I don't even really feel comfortable summarizing at this point, and Adam kind of has like a little bit of a mentee bee and ends up going home at the request of the big BuzzFeed boss man. And if you can believe it, the rest of the movie feels even more like a fever dream than what I've already described to you. Adam like gets home and throws the rocking chair out of the apartment and down the stairs, and then sits at his computer to make art about Dear David. He's drawing one panel in particular in which he tells David, I'm in control. And David somehow like hacks the computer and changes the speech to himself saying, are you? And then the entire thing just crashes. Like David has just destroyed hours of work in Photoshop. And Adam says here, David, what the hell did you do? To which David replies, that's 3. Adam has now asked 3 questions because David was being so obnoxious. As Adam is sitting at his computer trying to figure out like what to do next, suddenly his TV comes on and there's a video game playing on screen. Stick with me, because I know that this doesn't make a lot of sense, but hold on just a little bit longer for me, because I do feel like you need to hear what I'm about to say. A game loads on Adam's TV screen, and it's a fully animated, like actually very high quality looking video game. The game is called Die in a Fire, which is the same message that Adam had tweeted at the start of the movie, the same message that got David, I guess, like haunting him. And Adam loads up as a playable character. Now, Adam, this is so hard to keep track of, but Adam, like the person Adam, is looking at Adam, the playable character on the screen, and behind real life Adam, there's like an adult-sized man in a mask that I guess we're supposed to know is David, but like it's like a mask. Like I don't know where the mask came from or why David is suddenly a fully grown man. I know I said before that he's a grown man presenting as a little boy, but now like it's just weird to switch it up, I guess. Anyways, if you've ever seen that one film from Inside by Bo Burnham where he plays himself in a video game and like cries, that's kind of what this is, but like a much darker version of it. Adam plays himself walking around his apartment, dousing himself in alcohol, and grabs a lighter. All while this is happening in the video game, David, like adult man David, is just creeping towards Adam, Like slowly, Adam sets himself on fire in the video game, and then suddenly he wakes up on the concrete floor of that basement that he's always seeing David in. But the entire thing with the video game was just a dream sequence. And honestly, I really thought after the dream sequence, because it was so much, the video game was so visceral and over the top and very well animated. I mean, it looked incredible. I mean, just easily the most interesting scene of the entire movie. I really thought I had it clocked though. I was watching this scene and I was like, Adam Ellis, like the real person Adam Ellis, so not the movie version Adam Ellis, not video game Adam Ellis. Adam Ellis, like the man, the myth, the legend, is suddenly going to appear in like a writer's room, and he's just pitching this idea to a bunch of men in suits who all just stare at him. Like he's sitting there saying, and then I play myself in a video game, and everyone around him is like, are you okay? I thought it was gonna be like some big meta reveal or something, but instead it was all just a dream sequence. So he wakes up on the basement floor, and of course, David is still just on the computer in this basement. It's the scene from the beginning where David sends his MS Paint drawing to this chat room while they all start bullying him, and Adam creeps up behind him on the computer and says, "You were an artist too?" Then suddenly, Kyle, Evelyn, BuzzFeed boss man, and another BuzzFeed employee are all in the room like with David and Adam, and they all just start telling Adam like what a bad person he is, how nobody likes him, he's a bad worker, he's a bad friend, he's a bad boyfriend, and he's just worthless and he doesn't deserve anything. And Adam asks David, "Why are you saying this to me?" And he turns back to David, like away from all of the other people in the room. And he realizes that David is now him. Like there's like two Adams in this room just staring at each other. We keep getting shots of Adam knocked out on the floor of his apartment while an actual fire spreads throughout his kitchen and to the rest of his apartment. His cats like try to wake him up, and he's just knocked out on the floor. So everything that's happening in the basement, of course, is like in his head. David tells Adam that he's worthless and he'll never be enough and nobody's coming to save him and nobody loves him. But Kyle and Evelyn, I guess finally concerned about their friend's deteriorating well-being, decide to come over to Adam's apartment to check on him and realize that it's on fire, so they rush in to save him. And Adam can hear them yelling through the stream. So Adam tells David that he's not alone and he does have people who care about him. And as if those are the magic words, suddenly Adam wakes up on his apartment floor surrounded by flames. I mean, the apartment is like up in smoke. And over his body is an adult version of Dear David. And I'm not talking about the Dear David that we've seen as an adult so far, standing in the corner with a mask on. We now have like a fully fleshed out adult Dear David looming over Adam's body. And David goes full-blown exorcist here. Like, it's very clear he's been using so little of his power until this point. He like makes Adam levitate in the air and sends him flying across a room and into a wall, and he's just crawling around and stuff. But somehow Adam manages to overpower him, and he grabs that Bluetooth camera that was recording everything in the apartment that he got a while ago. He uses that to smash David over the head. There is this shot of David's body on the floor, like the dented head, and there's like blood everywhere, and the wires from the camera are malfunctioning and lighting up around his head. I guess I thought that was kind of cool because like the whole film, it's like, is he a ghost? Is he a computer virus? We'll never know. Adam runs out of the apartment, ends up falling down the stairs, but Kyle and Evelyn drag him out. And when he comes to, he's on the pavement outside where Kyle is sitting over him. And Adam finally tells Kyle, "I love you." Then Adam is put in an ambulance and he's being looked over and stuff. And Evelyn finds Adam's phone. And when she looks over it, she sees that like the Dear David profile is pulled up on his phone. The one that Kyle obviously said didn't exist. And then the phone glitches out and Evelyn realizes that like he never got the messages she was sending him, and also the mean ones that he did send her disappear. So she comes into the ambulance and she tells Adam that she's really sorry she didn't believe him, and Kyle is like, yeah, you tried to tell us something was going on. And I really don't know what has changed between when they treated him like he was losing his mind, because as far as it looked, he was losing his mind. Like, they didn't see any of the stuff happening in the apartment. You know what I mean? Like, they had no idea about the video game and why the place lit on fire. They didn't even see David. All Evelyn saw was Adam's phone glitching, and Kyle just chimes in with her like, yeah, you tried to tell us something was going on and we just didn't believe you. Like, it's so weird. We get a shot inside of Adam's apartment building and David's body disappears completely, I guess signaling that he is gone. They also end up finding Adam's cats, maybe the best part of this entire film. We cut back to the ambulance for the final scene, and Adam is holding one of the cats, Kyle is holding another, and Evelyn is in the ambulance as well, and I guess they're heading to the hospital. And Adam tells Kyle and Evelyn that it wasn't their fault that they didn't believe him. He needs to like work on letting people in more. You know, he pushed them away, it's not their fault, and he's going to work on opening up to them. But then suddenly we see Adam completely in the dark, looking into a mirror, but David's face flashes in front of him. And when David disappears, Adam's eyes are all hollowed out the way that like David's were. I don't fully understand this. I couldn't figure out if it was supposed to be a big reveal, like, oh, now David's taken over his body. But I guess like I don't understand what the point of that would be. Like, David has already ruined Adam's life, and he hasn't like possessed anyone before. So I don't know, but I guess that's what it was implying, I think. I know I said that was the last scene, but then there's one final scene that we should talk about, where a live streamer named Chloe. You're telling me there's like 6 total named characters in this film and 2 of them are Loopy Linda and Chloe? Anyway, Chloe is talking about the Dear David tweet. She's like reading through the tweets and talking about the story, and she asks her audience what they think about the Dear David story, while simultaneously making it very clear she doesn't believe Adam Ellis. Then Dear David joins the chat. Like, there's a Dear David account that joins the chat and says, go ahead, ask 3 questions. So she does, and they're really like kind of trolly questions or whatever, but she's sitting there saying, see, nothing happened to me. Suddenly her live stream glitches out and she starts banging her head against her desk, like over and over while the stream is still running, and then she just screams, and that's how the movie ends. Oh my god, like, oh my god. I really hope that I gave you the same experience that I had while watching this film, because I know 90% of you are not going to go and watch it, and that's why you watched this video. But man, it was special. I wouldn't say it was good, but I can honestly say I've never really seen anything quite like it. It has like a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 3.9 out of 10 on IMDb. It was a hard watch with a really like quite bad ending. Like, I still don't really understand if David is inside of Adam's body now. Like, if David has become Adam Ellis and is just using him to wreak havoc on the general public, I guess like more than he already does. Because right now it seems like the minute that someone talks shit on the internet, David finds them pretty quickly and handles them. So whatever he wants to do with Adam, like, he's still making accounts to talk to people and let them ask him 3 questions like Chloe at the end. Like, did he just want Adam to type for him? I don't understand what the point was. I'm sure that there was some kind of message I was supposed to get about not bullying. I think there was supposed to be an undertone of like the internet can be kind of a scary place, and you should be kind to people on it, but I didn't really walk away learning any lessons from this one. It's truly unbelievable that a series of tweets from 2017 became a movie, and I have been so excited for this film for many, many years, but then finding out that like the original creator didn't really seem like he had anything to do with it and it was all just BuzzFeed, like I got significantly less excited about it. However, after watching it, I can honestly say I don't regret doing so. I really enjoyed being able to make this video for you. I know there's a lot of you who found me through Dear David, and it just means the world to me that so many years later, you're still hanging out with me, whether it's just for this video or you're a regular viewer of my channel or you follow me anywhere else online. It means the world that you still keep up with me, and I hope we can check in with each other again soon. It's cool to grow up with you guys and to feel like there's this tether of something that we're both interested in, tying us back like a little invisible string, keeping us together through all of life. It makes me really happy, and yeah, this series is really special to me. But my God, saying based off of a true story at the beginning, like what are you talking about? Anyway, that's it for the Dear David movie. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was entertaining for you. If you did like it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you don't subscribe to my channel, adult Dear David will visit you in your dreams tonight and will give you sleep paralysis and tickle your toes a little bit, and I don't think you want that. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. A special thank you to my subscribers who are members of the channel. If you want to join the channel memberships and get members exclusive content, including members only videos, polls to help me decide on future videos, and so much more, you can click that little join button somewhere around the screen. We would love to have you. A special thank you to my VIP loves for their generous and continued support of the channel. I love and appreciate you all very, very much. I love you all very much. Thanks so much for watching this one. I have been telling my family and my mods and just anyone who will listen that I feel like this video is like my magnum opus. And it's such a labor of love, but I've sank like 10 hours already into this video. It's crazy. Anyway, I love you all, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.